Good morning, everybody. Hope everybody is doing well. My name is Bob Stein. I'm the Executive Director of the Institute for Entrepreneurial Excellence, and we're very happy to have you here today with our sponsor, C-Level, and for Marketing State of the Union. Of course, in addition to C-Level, I'd like to thank all of our membership sponsors, PNC Bank, Meyer, Uncle Vic and Scott, UPS, UPMC Health Plan, AT&T, Cohen & Company, Wilkie and Associates, and the Net Experts. We have a couple upcoming programs. We have a webinar with PNC on September 9th on a state of the economy update and family business succession planning. And then our regularly scheduled membership program is on September 22nd. That's Success Cadence with Dave Mattson. And on restrictions, that will be held in February, and it will be live streamed. Or if we are not able to have in-person meetings at that time, it will be streamed virtually. Now I'm going to hand it over to Denise, who will begin our presentation. Thank you.
Hi, Bob. Thanks for having me here. I'm excited to go over this presentation. The things that I really wanted to talk about today is the changes in marketing due to COVID. This is about me, but I'm going to bypass that. Of course, I work at C-Level, but I'm going to skip over that slide. So for today's discussion, we wanted to talk about how drastically, we all know the world's changed drastically with COVID, but the businesses and marketing strategies have had to change along with it. So the things that, the discussion points for today is really, talking a little bit about pre-COVID, just for the sake of comparison, how things have changed in the current landscape, some tactics that you could do yourself to improve your brand awareness, and some key takeaways. So pre-COVID, as everybody knows, there was such a wide range of touch points to reach your buyers or potential buyers. There were networking events, large events, sponsorship events. You had the opportunity to advertise in venues. Even everyday foot traffic, walking, retail stores were open. Walking past, you could solicit foot traffic into your retail store. People had a lot of disposable income for travel and luxury items, so you had the opportunity to market in specific, travel magazines, luxury magazines. Brick and mortar was in full swing, and as we can see in Pittsburgh, there's been a lot of new businesses popping up pre-COVID. There's always been digital and online and social media interactions, and that was here before COVID as well. So, the change is here. We're living in a world right now that we have to adapt and adjust our marketing think and our marketing spend. I put this here because events, took the largest hit. As you can see, there in February, there was a 500% surge in cancellation and postponement of events. And when people think about events, you think about it's not just the event venue, it's the people that rely on trade shows to generate sales. It's caterers, it's, AV people. It affected a whole lot of businesses, and it was almost immediate. So in-person events, trade shows is obviously not happening in 2020, but hopefully we can see some events pop up in 2021. So e-commerce had probably the largest change. It has had a tremendous growth. Everybody afraid to go out, everybody's shopping online. There was 146% growth in all online retailers so far. Most businesses have shifted to being able to sell something online. Companies that haven't had an e-commerce solution have started to put one in. As a result of COVID, e-commerce will grow over $100 billion this year. So that is a lot of e-commerce revenue in the short time frame. So this is a stack line. They compared e-commerce sales in the US. And they said, here's the top increase and the top decrease. This survey was done, and this graph was done in March. So when COVID hit, everybody started to take a big hit, and some industries made huge gains. So no surprise, disposable gloves, bread machines, all the stuff increasing, no surprise of the things decreasing. Now this has changed over the course, but this goes to show that when things started, there was huge and immediate impacts. Retail sales hit really hard. I mean, by May of this year, was totally almost all underwater. You know, the exception, of course, was sporting goods and books and hobbies and things like that that people could do in their homes. In March, you know, people quickly started to realize that, you know, if you relied on trade shows for sales or lead generation, people immediately started transferring budgets to digital and content marketing, because that's the only way that they could reach their customers. You know, when you're used to selling in an in-person environment and that's taken away from you, you have to reach out and make sure you can touch the customers you can digitally. So, you know, one of the things, you know, I think everybody has realized that 2020 is not going to change. And probably after this is resolved, there's certain aspects that will never come back. And the things that we should focus on are the things that you can do yourselves to make sure that you're staying relevant. So we're going to talk a little bit about, you know, increasing the online presence to stand out, what content creation should look like, what video and live content, and some tools, and some of the metrics that you should be looking at. So screen time is, to nobody's surprise, just completely increasing month over month. You know, prior to March 11th, workers were spending about 6 hours on devices a day. A month later, it's 7, and it's estimated now that people are online over 8 hours a day. You know, streaming is picked up 26%. A lot of companies are moving to streaming advertising to get their message across. You know, children, you know, if you have a business that sells to children and, you know, or family related, children are online 48%, where compared to 8.2% before the crisis. So everyone is online. And as you can see, most people are online during the day. So people that are working are online, and people that are in the workforce, businesses, people making buying decisions are online heavily during the day. You know, one of the other biggest changes was social media. I mean, business owners that before pre-COVID, there's a lot of business owners that said, you know, I'm not really a social media person. I don't really understand social. But by mid-March, there were 40% more people on some of these social platforms. Web browsing increased 70%, TV viewing 63%, social media engagement increasing 61% is huge. So between 46 and 51% of adults were using social media more, and those aren't primarily, and I've said this before, they're not all middle-aged women. There can't be 3 billion middle-aged women on social media. So businesses are starting to understand the need for social media in this, especially in this digital world. Social media platforms have made changes to make it easier for B2B features. So the move digitally has been very aggressive. So all of those statistics, I think probably everyone could have guessed or knew, but the thing that is important is marketing during COVID is to really stay relevant. With everybody online, it's important that you are standing out, that your company is getting noticed. So I broke these down into different categories for some suggestions that will help you to stay relevant. So I started with website. You want to make sure that your website is as visually appealing as possible. Statistically, hands down, if your website is visually appealing, people stay longer. It doesn't mean you have to redo a website, but you want to make sure that homepage is appealing, and I can't emphasize enough that the right messaging is on that site. People are now looking at websites, getting a quick look at, is this somebody that I can relate to? And so you really want to make sure that it's visually appealing and it's delivering the right message. Lead generation forms to a website, that's extremely important. If you don't have one, you definitely should have one. If you have just a contact form, try to gather a little more information than just a name, and if you're interested, try to get them to fill out what's the product that they're looking for. Why did they come to your website? Is there something they need in the next 30 or 60 days? Drop down and forms become really easy these days to just fill out fast. So, having a good form where you can start understanding who's visiting and what they're interested in really helps in lead generation. This is something, the next item, make sure your website's flexible for phone and tablets. This should be something that in today's age, this is something that was a requirement 3 or 4 years ago, but there's a lot of websites out there that don't render well for phones and tablets. And that does a couple things. One, it doesn't help your SEO, and it's frustrating for people that are searching for you on a mobile device, because a lot of traffic is coming from mobile. The next item is, increase your SEO. It's always a good time to evaluate your keywords and make sure they're still accurate. If they're not accurate, then, adjust them. But, increasing your SEO will improve your ranking so that people will find you faster. Last is, your website should show people that you're the expert in your business. So having a spot where there's downloadable content, ebooks, white papers, to show their potential buyers that you're a solid source of information, that makes a big difference in brand awareness. The next thing is social media, and this topic is I think undervalued. Social media, you have to have a strategy. people that post just to post aren't really doing anything but just wasting some time. Um, if if you're posting just fun information, my employees and we're riding bikes, we're doing whatever. It's good if it's following a strategy of trying to implement and show people your corporate culture. But to have a product on social one day and then somebody in a fishing boat the next day, it really just confuses the people that you're trying to sell to. Because it's not about the amount of followers you have. It's about the number of customers that are following you. So having those posts and fun posts might be great and you get a lot of followers, but if they're not the right followers, they're not potential customers, then it's really pointless. You know, the other thing that people don't do enough of is making sure that the posts are visually appealing. You know, it's so easy to now add video and animation to your post. You know, there's lots of posts, especially during this time. I mean, we're in a tough year because we're competing with elections. So, you know, making sure that your posts stand out and they're memorable and you're targeting the right audience within those social media platforms is really extremely important. Not expand the presence. You know, if you're not on Instagram, you need to get on Instagram. So, you know, you have to increase social media interactions, but those interactions have to be based on a strategy. If you're doing paid advertising, I would assess it on both social and Google AdWords to make sure that your money is spent in the right place. And what's important, in not a lot of people do it, and we have to remind employees here all the time, employees have to share the post. They have to show that they believe and are committed to the company they work for and reach their followers, and their maybe some of their followers could be potential customers. The next topic is probably, you know, really the most important. It's content. You know, there's 75 million blog posts on WordPress in April alone. 90% of the most successful brands state that content marketing helped them increase brand awareness. And what is critical to understand is brand awareness leads to lead generation, which leads to revenue. So content is definitely still king. And just like social media, you have to have a content strategy. So a content strategy will drive what's posted on social. So, you know, you want to build a content strategy based on research and keywords that are relevant to you and to your customers. So what are your customers searching for? And you build that content based, that strategy based on data. You know, and when you launch that content marketing campaign, you have to include blogs, social posts, downloadable content, and email. You know, HubSpot, if you don't have a good email delivery system, I would say HubSpot. They have a free subscription. You can deliver emails, and it gives you great metrics on the results of those campaigns. And I think it's easy in this day and age to increase video and live content. You know, a lot of content, a lot of video you see on the web is done with iPhones. So as a business, you should examine what type of live or taped content could be useful. Is it webinars? Is it Zoom meetings? You know, do you, you know, even something as simple as putting a Zoom background for your Zoom meetings is important. Can you do product demos and start doing those video? Broadcasts from in-home, do Q&A sessions. The the content categories are really endless with video and live content. But its timeliness is more important than high end. A lot of people worry that my videos aren't going to be as high quality as I want them to be. People really aren't expecting high end videos right now, but you can always take an iPhone video and edit it and it will look very high end. But it's really more important to get that video content out there. And again, video content should follow suit with the whole content strategy. So, the best ways to deliver content is, of course, your website. You want to make sure that there is content that not just represents your product and services well, but your message well. I mean, the tonality and messaging of a website is extremely important because your people looking for your services want to get a feel for who they're going to be working with. So your website is an opportunity to make sure that they have that right feel. Again, I think HubSpot's easy and it does a good job of having free tools that'll allow you to deliver that content. So I would take advantage of it. And there's a lot of companies implementing, chats and chatbots, and they have that as well, but with a subscription, and that seems to work well. So I just put two, social media is obviously one that you can deliver a lot of content, but I think the two big ones are, putting a tool in place that automates that content delivery and making sure your website is delivering great content. This one is probably the most difficult to kind of understand because marketing metrics are all over the board. I would say, obviously you want to stay on top of what's happening with your online metrics and use the industry metrics, adapt. I mean, it's important if something's not working to adapt quickly. But you should worry about the metrics that you're generating. When you put a campaign in place, you want to be able to research the topic and rely on those metrics. But when you launch your campaign, you really want to stay on top of what's happening with your own. So if you put out a blog post and you launch it and socialize it, and it's not reaching the right audience, look at the metrics. Am I picking the right audience? Are these keywords correct? You don't want to wait until the end of a campaign to make changes. So especially in the beginning of launching any kind of content campaign, you want to make sure that you really understand the metrics and make sure that you adjust those metrics as soon as you see something not working. Google reviews are good. You can judge, how effective some of these campaigns are. If you throw an email out and you say, hey, I'd like to understand, how we're doing as a company, please rate us on Google. That's an easy way to understand if your campaign is reaching people and they're actually doing it, because you'll see whether your rating goes up. So all of those things, rating, open email, social, that all helps you with brand awareness and, search engine optimization. So, ranking high is really important. The other thing I think people, take a little bit too long to do is to move to additional targets. So if you see, this is what I thought my audience was, and it's not getting the response, think a little bit outside the box. Choose a different target. See what type of information that you're getting and see how they're responding and how many people are driven back to the website and how many people are filling out your forms. But it's really important that you rely on data to make decisions and not instinct. Data, if you don't rely on data, you may spend a lot of time and effort marketing in ways that aren't going to produce results. So, the key takeaways, everyone's online. So you really want to market to customers and potential customers online. It's more than just posting and being out there and putting blogs together. It has to be visually appealing and following a strategy to make sure you get the most results. A content strategy and content marketing definitely delivers leads because you're pulling people into a funnel that are already interested in the topic you're selling. So you're getting more quality people entering that lead funnel than you would just throwing a bunch of stuff out there. If you're putting a content strategy together to sell product X and people are filling out a form, you can market to those people that filled out a form for that product. So they've already kind of opted in, yeah, I'm kind of interested in this. It's then the company's job to just sell them on that. The other thing is really website and functionality. You really have to, sometimes you can use changing the homepage as an opportunity to say we've launched a new look and get some attention to your website, bring some people to that website to re-look at your products and services. The homepage, the About Us page continue to be the two most looked at pages on anybody's website. So, I would make sure that those two pages deliver exactly what you're trying to say. Website too, the messaging, people aren't reading pages and pages of content. They're more apt to do business with you when you give them a powerful statement or they can understand with the messaging what you're all about. So really good messaging with a visual website is exactly what you should look at as far as your website asset. And, last, analyzing the website and the social metrics often and using that data. You can use Google Analytics. Again, if you use HubSpot, they have built-in data. You want to know how much traffic to your site you're driving from social, how much of your campaigns you're driving to the site, because it's still and always will be a numbers game. If you fill the top of that funnel, then you're going to sell things. So really understanding where your traffic's coming from. If you're getting a ton of social traffic to your website from social, then and they all seem to be good opportunities, the right people filling out the right forms, then spend $100, $200, $300 boosting those posts. And you really, what you try to do with the analytics is you want to find the right recipe and the right combination. It's not one thing, it's going to be a combination of a lot of things. So the metrics will kind of give you the direction on where you should go. And I think that's it. Is everybody gone? Brett?
Hey Denise, how's it going? We have a few question in the Q&A and a few in chat, I believe. So
okay,
can you access those to review those? And
all right, one is, how should we share videos? What social platform, all of them, or just YouTube? I think that's a great question. I don't think you should just share videos on YouTube. I think it's important. So Instagram is that's really a visual platform, right? There's a lot of videos, there's a lot of pictures. So I think all platforms now are visual, but if I had to pick two, I would say, Facebook and Instagram. But it doesn't hurt to push out videos to all of them. I think it's important to have a YouTube channel for sure. But again, you want to keep putting content up there that you're also driving people to YouTube and looking at your YouTube channel. But I would absolutely use video to push on social.
Then in the Q&A, Greg asked, does your firm look at a company's website and provide suggestions to improving it? How long does that usually take?
Yeah, we do, and it usually doesn't take long, about a day. A lot of companies, we can, we're happy to run reports for people on their website and, let them know what is working or not working. We don't charge for that because it really, we have a whole set of tools that it makes it easier for us. So, we can usually turn those around in a day. That kind of gives you exactly what you should do to fix your website. Content audits are a little more in depth, but the structure of the website, how it's performing, the traffic, that type of stuff, we can usually turn around in a day.
Hey, Denise, I had a question. What do you think? So you mentioned the election coming up and the number of, the kind of competing with the advertising space. And from there, would you say, or would you recommend for any firms to, hold until November 4th and proceed with advertising, or ramp up then, or maybe even try to, slide in any other time? What would you recommend for, looking at advertising within, digital or other traditional medium, um, uh, leading up to the election and after, and
Yeah,
closing out essentially Q4?
For me, election year posts are tough to follow. So if it were me, I don't know that I would spend a ton of money advertising on social. But again, I would look at the metrics of what I'm getting first. So if I'm putting a social post, and let's just say I spend $200 a month and I'm getting good leads, until I stop getting good opportunities, I'm going to continue to do that because my metrics may be different than somebody else's. So if you define the right audience and you have a message that's highly appealing, both visually and, with a great message, and it's generating you opportunities that are leading into your funnel, then I wouldn't stop until the metrics told me that it just needs to end. I'm not getting anywhere. And then I'd pick it back up. People aren't going to be online. They continue to spend more time online, and the social online presence continues to rise. So you're not missing anything if you don't advertise, but you want to make sure that your metrics are telling you when it's time to stop.
All right. So we have one more from Greg. He asked, can your firm help with a strategic plan for marketing through LinkedIn and or other social channels, I guess, as well?
Yeah, we definitely do strategic planning, content. We do LinkedIn strategy. Um, so we definitely handle that stuff because it all comes down to strategy and content and leads. That's what people that have a website, they have digital assets. I mean, they're wanting to fill the funnel. So, having a strategy for LinkedIn or any individual social channel is going to also include, the blogs, we want to make sure blogs on the website or just content that somebody can go to, videos, all of that stuff. So yeah, we definitely do a lot of that work. One other question that came in is, you said the About Us page on the website's important. What do you think people are looking for there? Company history reviews, personal info. So people are looking to know who they're going to be doing business with. People, I read a statistic before COVID that it said 70% of a buying decision, either 60 or 70% of a buying decision was made before you had the first contact in person or on the phone. And I believe that's true. So if my own behavior, if I'm thinking about, hiring a general contractor, I'm going to go to the website. I'm going to look at who this person is. I'm going to look at some of their history. Usually on the homepage, they're going to show some of the work they've done. I'm going to look at them on Google. So people are doing a lot of research, and who they're doing business with is extremely important. So to answer your question, it's all of those things. They're looking for the history. Are you in business a year? Or have you been in business 20 years? Who is the person that is responsible for the order I give them? So all of those things, I think, are extremely important.
Denise, I'll follow it up by saying, I've been working in marketing for, a good dozen plus years, and a lot of it on the website. And if you look at a lot of companies' web pages and the analytics behind them, those about pages are always near the top of what each firm, and their search traffic is, page views and unique visitors. And you can, get a good sense, especially if you're working, say you're a consulting firm, looking at individual, bios and profiles of employees is always, very high ranking. So as much, quality content that you can provide in those is especially important, for people searching online. Because like Denise said, people are going to review that and do all their research to know exactly what they're getting or who they're hiring or what they're buying.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, it's always, in all the years of us doing this here, when we look at pages, it's always either one or two position. There's a question, mention the 3 most important things to a micro business should have. In this case, it's a coffee distribution business to wholesalers. So if I were going to say 3 things, and I'm assuming it's not just content or social. So, if I was doing coffee distribution to wholesalers, one thing that you want to, food and beverage right now is a really hot industry, and a lot of people are starting to get into it. So I would say, even if it's not a big website, have a website that really explains the expertise and why you're different. And I think it's really, really important to always have a website and social pages look similar. Nothing is more, pushing, it's hard enough to put brand awareness in front of people, but to have them confused when they go to your social channels and it doesn't look like the same background or anything like it is on your website, it's a huge mistake. So the three things I would probably do if I were starting a coffee distribution, even if it's a small website, I would put up a very, food's one of those things, and beverage is really nice because people like to look at that stuff. So even if you're selling to wholesalers, you want to look like you're always in a professional setting. So why your distribution works better than other people. Let people get to know you. If you're, if you're someone that is, really keen on customer service and you answer the phone 24/7, it's important for that to be on your website. So even if it's a small website, so that you can start ranking, SEO and, social channels, I would do that. I mean, even if it's a video, if it depends on how, outgoing you are, but, a nice video explaining the business and why you'll work hard for the wholesalers, that's always good. So if it were me, I would do those three things. The question here is, so you're going to answer this live, Brett?
Yeah, we can respond to it. So I'll read it aloud. So from our website's contact page, our responses have decreased by 30% during the pandemic. However, we now get more other companies soliciting us to sell something. We would think if more people are spending more time online, our responses would be up 30%. Could this be a result that our website needs refreshed?
I would say, yeah. Because one, it depends on, the industry, but there's definitely a ton more people online, and if people are just using the form to solicit you and you're not getting any leads, then you have to really look at what message you're delivering. And is it appealing? How long has it been since you've refreshed your website? People are online more. And, this is also what I try to explain to people. With people online more, they see really nice websites and they see ones that aren't so nice. And people are a lot more judgmental on digital assets than they were 6 months ago. And I don't, I know that it's always been that way, but it seems to have gotten worse. So I would say if your website hasn't been refreshed in a while, I definitely would. The message isn't resonating, and if you have an online form, you're always going to get spam. But you can also help shut that down with building things into your website to prevent that. But if you're not getting any leads whatsoever, then it's all about the content. It's about those things. Is the website visually appealing? Is it delivering the right message? Are the customers clear when they come to the website what I'm trying to sell? Is the social, am I delivering quality social content? Is the content marketing strategy all inclusive of blogs and social and emails? And does it resonate with the website? Are my forms, not inviting enough? Sometimes, people will put a form on the website and it doesn't look like the form isn't saying, come fill me out. It's saying, this is the information, I need it now, or don't bother me. I mean, how you how you message forms is also important. So, you know, a website being visual with the right message, with the right content, is key. So I would say, you know, without really understanding, you know, or seeing, you know, all I see is name and initial, I would say it sounds like it.
All right, so I think we've exhausted our questions. So I'd like to thank you, Denise, for giving this presentation today. I know it's you know, vitally important. I know a lot of businesses have been, you know, just trying to get their, you know, feet under themselves over the past few months, and so sometimes marketing gets put to the back, and it's always good to get a good refresher on what's important and trying to promote and propel your businesses from that standpoint, as well as just kind of get a sense of what's coming down the pike as we enter, you know, the last quarter of the year and 2021. So with that, I just want to thank all the attendees today for joining us. And if you're interested in other IEE events coming up, please visit entrepreneur.pitt.edu/events to see a listing there. Again, thank you all our sponsors for continued sponsorship of the IE. And with that, I'll turn it over to Denise if she has any parting thoughts. But after that, we are going to end a presentation.
No, I don't have any parting thoughts, but you know, some of these tactics that I gave you as key takeaways, you can do in-house. I mean, you just have to give yourself the time allowed to do it. So I would say at least try it, and you could probably deliver a lot in-house.
All right. Thank you, Denise. Thank you, attendees. Hope to be in touch very soon, and good luck.